Hi, my name is Patty and I'm doing a baking challenge. I release a video every Friday. Welcome to this week's video. Now, let's find out what I'm baking this week. Time to see what I'm baking this week. Wow, I love this one. This one is a challenge, but I made it a few times. And it's one of my favorite things. So I'm excited for this one. Hey guys, so today we are baking one of my favorite pastries, le croissant. Usually when I go to a bakery, that's what I'm ordering. I've made them a few times, so let's see how today's will turn out. I decided to make two different recipes. They are basically using the same methods, but with slightly different quantities of ingredients. So I'm going to test both, and then in the end I'm going to give you the recipe that I like the most. So let's see how our croissants turn out, and I hope you like this video. Let's do this. We start by making the dough. First we add some flour, some sugar, some salt, the yeast, and milk and water into your mixer bowl and give it a stir. Okay, so now I'm stirring it. And then we'll take it to the mixer so it starts kneading the dough until it's ready to bake. Not bake. Until it's ready. Here I'm doing the window pane test. Basically, you get a ball of dough and then you start stretching it little by little and see if you can stretch it without ripping, and you can almost see through the dough. And then it's time to leave it to proof. So I get a bowl and grease it, and then make a crust on top and cover it, and leaving it for at least 8 hours in the fridge or overnight. Now I'm preparing a block of butter that we are going to add to that dough when the dough is ready. So now with the help of a rolling pin, I'm trying to coax the butter into fitting the envelope I made, so it gets to all of the edges. And now we have a malleable dough, and that's going to the fridge until we need it. Now the dough has proofed. It was proofing for 8 hours in the fridge. So now I'm rolling it out until it looks like a 4-leaf clover. And we need to have enough room inside to add the block of butter that we made. We need to be careful so that the butter is not too hot, that it melts into the dough, and also not too cold, because it might rip the dough. So they need to be at around the same texture and temperature. I think here I could have waited a little bit more for the butter to be a bit colder. And now basically we close the butter with all the sides of the dough. Now we press it to close it and turn it to the other side. And now we can start rolling it out until it gets to 70 centimeters by 25 centimeters. And after it's that size, we are going to make our first fold, and that's going to be a letter fold, or fold it in thirds. And that's a process that we are going to make 3 times, but in between we need the dough to rest in the fridge so it's easier to roll it out, and also the butter doesn't get too warm. So here I'm doing the first fold. This is going to the fridge for at least half an hour or more, and then we'll do another fold like this one, and again to the fridge it goes, and then we'll do another one of these folds, and then it goes to the fridge for half an hour, and then we can roll it out to make the croissants. So I said that I made 2 recipes of croissants, but I'm only showing you one so that the video is not very confusing, because this was the recipe that worked best for me. So this was the first recipe that I started making, and it was the best one. I'm going to leave the ingredient list below. So now the dough, I'm checking if the dough is already at the correct size, and I saw that it was. So now I'm starting to make the triangles. I'm spacing it with 8 centimeters each base of the triangle, and then I'm going to start cutting them. So one mistake that I think I made here, I should have stretched the triangles a bit more, and maybe the croissants, the triangles should have been a bit larger, because spoiler alert, the croissants that I made were a bit small. So here I'm going to try and fold the first croissant, roll the first croissant. So I try to stretch it a bit and then roll it so it looks croissant shaped. You see that it's pretty small. And this is the same process. We're going to roll all of these triangles into croissants. Some of the croissants I baked and some I left to freeze. I let them proof and then I store them in the freezer so that I can take them out some other time and bake them, because I made 2 recipes and I didn't want to bake all of them now. So I showed that some of the croissants were already wrapped and ready to proof, so they were proofing for 2 hours, and they are now jiggling and egg washed and ready to bake. So these ones that I'm showing you are actually the second recipe, so as you can see they are going to grow, but not a lot. But it's always interesting to see the footage of the oven. You can see them growing. Hey guys, so now it's time to taste the croissants. So I have here one of each recipes I made. They turned out a bit smaller. This is just half, so this is one of them. So it should be a little bit bigger, maybe like so. So next time I need to make sure that the triangles are a bit larger. This one is even smaller from the second recipe. The second recipe was slightly smaller. They came out even smaller than the other ones. They are mini croissants. Here's one. And let me show you another one from the first recipe. So looking at them, the first recipe seems better. Now let's taste both of them to see if the flavor matches the look. Okay, so they should be a bit larger, like I said. Okay, so let me try the one from the first recipe. Very good. I have to say that these ones, the first recipe, I started making them earlier, so they had more time to develop flavor. This is a 3-day recipe. I made it in like 2 days because I followed the instructions and I saw that it had like a minimum of 8 hours in between steps, and I made that, so I managed to do them in 2 days instead of 3. But for better flavor, it's usually better to have the 3 days. This smaller one, it's a quicker recipe. So let's see. It's also pretty good. Can you hear this? The crunchiness. Okay, in terms of flavor, this one is good as well, but since the flavor of this one is good and the look of them are better as well, I think that's the recipe that I prefer. So this is it. Now I have lots more croissants. I've also frozen some of them to bake later. And I might do one recipe with the croissants, and maybe I'll film a bonus video. We'll see. Okay, hope you liked this video and see you next week. Thanks for watching.